You ready? Okay. I call the July 23rd, 2020 regular Planning Commission meeting to order at this time. We call take the roll. I guess we,
Commissioner Flicker,
Here.
Commissioner Britton,
here.
Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Sears,
Here.
Vice Chair Jenkins,
Here.
Chairperson Durling.
Here. We'll open the session. Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Other commissioner.
At this time, if there's anyone who wants to, I don't see anybody out there. So I assume there's nobody that wants to make a presentation of a non-agenda item. So we'll go to, huh? Nobody out there, okay. Okay. Open the hearing for minor use permit UP 2004 for beer and wine sales. Staff, you have a presentation?
Yes, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, this item is for Tacos Tijuana, a use permit for the sale of beer and wine for on-site consumption only. It's required for the sale of beer and wine. So this small restaurant at 1835 Oro Dam Boulevard, it's next to Big Lots, and it's in the shopping center behind Oro Jewelry and Loan. Staff has no concerns. Personally, eating Mexican food without a bottle of beer seems unnatural to me. So staff recommends approval and adoption of Resolution P 2020-08.
Okay, open the public hearing on the item. I don't see anybody in, they've been noticed? Okay. I'll see nobody here. I'll close the public hearing and leave it to staff. Leave it to commission members if you have any questions of staff, or I can take a motion.
Is there anything the Planning Commission could do to help businesses that want to do the outdoor dining with alcohol or anything, or anything special we could help with that, or help anything we could do to help businesses that want to do the outdoor dining? How the state and the city are now approving people to expand their footprint at the moment.
Yes, Commissioner Jenkins, the city council on Tuesday evening approved an urgency ordinance which allows outdoor seating for restaurants and other retailers, and during the duration of the COVID emergency. So the city is now ready and has issued its first temporary use permit for 60 days renewable for outdoor seating at the Denny's restaurant but as you've noticed, many other restaurants have already begun outdoor seating. So we're going to go around and get use permits from them. There is no charge for this, and it's more of a tracking thing for us. But we are encouraging outdoor seating during the emergency.
With this beer and wine permit, though, is there something else that could be so that beer and wine could be
Yes,
Outside or-
the alcohol, ABC, Alcohol Business Beverage Control Board has a emergency ordinance of their own, emergency declaration of their own, and they are allowing a temporary outdoor sale of alcohol for seated patrons at places that do serve alcohol. So combined with our use permit, and it can be business as usual outdoors, up to the maximum number of seating indoors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept PU 2004 for wine and beer sales at Tacos Taqueria.
Tacos Tijuana.
I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Flicker,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sears,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jenkins.
Yes.
Chairperson Darling.
Yes,
Motion carries 6-0.
thank you.
I got a quick, sorry, Chair, I got a quick procedural. So it says adopt recommendation for findings for use permit, but actually the resolution number is different. Do we need to include there's two adoptions on there, so do we need to include the resolution number? P200, it's actually a different number, P2020-08?
Yes, if that motion can include that resolution number, that'll be helpful.
So
Or a new motion to adopt that resolution.
You can either amend the motion
I'll just make a new motion.
and recommend that motion be amended.
I was gonna make a new motion.
Oh, well, huh?
Okay. I amend permit UP 2004 and recommend that we adopt P 2020-08 and also accept UP 2004.
Okay, do we have a second on that one?
Well, I'm a second, so I say yes.
Okay. Want to call the roll?
Commissioner Flicker,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman,
yes.
Commissioner Sears,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jenkins.
Yes.
Chairperson Darling.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. We'll do item 2, which is a minor use permit for alcohol sales at Collins and Denny's. Staff?
Commissioners, this permit application is a request by the owners to expand their alcohol sales from beer and wine to all alcohol. There are no other changes proposed by the applicant. This is the Collins and Denny's Gas and Mini Mart at 434 Plumas Avenue. And there is an inaccuracy in the staff report on page 18 of your packet. It says that there's a Plumas Elementary School located directly across the street from the market. That is true. It also says there are no places of worship within 500 feet. There actually apparently is a church at 360 Grand Avenue, which is at the end of Plumas Street there. That's within 500 feet. Please note also that the resolution has a unique proposed condition, condition number 4, and that is on page 21 of your packet. The Oroville Police Department has requested a condition prohibiting the sale of single-service cans and bottles. Have you been aware of this? Okay. OPD believes that this prohibition will significantly limit public intoxication and loitering around the establishment. They have conditioned other establishments in this manner with some success. So that is a potentially, it's a unique condition. Staff recommends approval with the condition that the applicant also obtain the type 21 license from ABC that is required, and recommends adoption of resolution P 2020-09. Applicant Mazen Hanoun is here tonight to answer any questions and may want to make a statement.
Okay, let's get the hearing going here first.
Okay.
Is that your presentation? Mm-hmm. I'll open the hearing for the minor use permit UP 2005. Is there anybody here from the applicant want to make a presentation? Discussion? Come on up.
Hi. I have a business, full market, serving all for my neighborhood, meat, fresh meat, deli, all the grocery. I just want to make it more convenient for my neighborhood. This business has been over 70 years there. So, and I sell beer and wine just to add a liquor on it. And I keep everything clean, same usual. I hope you guys give me the agreement.
Okay. Anyone have any questions of the applicant?
The market right down the street on Grand, and I don't know the name of it. Thank you. You must live out there, so, no. Do they sell, hard liquor?
Yes, they are.
They do, okay. So there is a place to get hard liquor in Thermalito, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
This is for one shopping, pick up everything. So not everybody come to me to go to Billy Bob. And it's like he covers some side from the town. It's no reason to go when you get all shopping for for your lunch or the dinner, and just go to pick up the bar of liquor. I should have it. If I can't have this everything, so I extend my business from market for gas station to make it more convenient. That's all.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? I have a couple. Has the applicant been able to read and understand the new condition that was put in by, or proposed by the police department?
Have you seen that one before?
No. I'm not gonna like it.
Okay, then now's your time to object to it.
Object. Yeah.
And Wes, I understand if that's a new condition, it'll be condition 12 on the agenda, on the staff report, under the conditions on, you said page 13 or whatever?
It's already in the resolution under condition number 4.
Oh, okay.
It's up to the planning commission whether to approve it that way or not.
Okay.
No, I objection.
Could staff, I don't know if this is the time, but just kind of like staff to maybe explain what exactly a single-service can or bottle would be? Is that something that's only like one consumption, or? I mean, is that a 12-ounce beer, or, I mean, what exactly is that?
I do not believe that the police department provided a definition of a single ounce or a single serving.
So, like, I mean, if somebody bought a bottle of whiskey, I mean, whiskey doesn't come in a 6-pack. I just was kind of curious what that meant. And does that also affect his beer license that he already has?
Yes.
Do not believe it does.
But
Well,
it says
this,
alcohol.
adding distilled spirits affects the current wine and beer license would have to be amended.
So you probably do sell single beers right now?
Now we have the beer company, they make two different sizes. One of them like you, 12, come in like this, 12 ounce. One of them come in 16 ounce, one of them 24 ounce. So before was like single bag, when it comes 6 bag, we take off one bottle or one can from the 6 bag. But now they are already coming like individually, like this. So like craft beer, all of them come in like 16 ounce or 12 ounce like this.
So you sell single cans?
Yeah, they come in single, we sell
Yeah.
single also.
So I just don't know
So-
if that's going to affect what he's doing right now.
Yeah, it would change the operation. So because he is a current ABC license holder. So if the planning commission chooses to deny this condition, then that would be up to the planning commission at the request of the applicant.
I have a question. Could we not put the condition in there and change our mind later if there was a problem later?
You could remove this condition, and then if there's a problem later, it would be up to enforcement from OPD. If there were incidences of public intoxication and other kinds of problems around this market.
Actually, I would be more, because it affects his current beer sales, I'd be more inclined to remove that part. I don't know, what about allowing persons to consume alcohol on premises? Do you have a problem with not allowing people to drink on the premises?
We don't, no, we don't have.
You don't allow that now?
No, we don't allow. We have signs, everything. No, we keep that part allowed.
So perhaps we can remove, to limit the opportunity, we can remove the not sell single-service cans or bottles of alcohol, but we can include that you won't allow anybody to drink alcohol on the premises.
Yeah, just agree, applicant agrees not to
Would that condition apply to any convenience store that was?
This is I mentioned earlier, it's a unique condition. It's not something we put into any alcohol permits at this point. We're working with the OPD because they do that in some cases. And it seems to alleviate problems that they have at some locations. So that's new. It sounds like it's something that needs more study before we make it a regular condition in other establishments.
So we would do this on a case-by-case basis if this comes up again?
Well, they must have put that in for a certain reason. If it's unique to this,
He wasn't targeting this particular market. He was targeting it in general for stores that sell alcohol, and I think more focusing on liquor stores in particular, less so on grocery stores that also sell alcohol. So it wasn't an important condition, but I wanted to get it in there to start the discussion about it.
Lost where the conditions are. What page was the condition? huh?
21.
21,
21, yeah.
page 21,
There we go.
number 4.
It says, nor allow persons to consume alcohol on premises.
So the revised condition, if I'm getting the sense of the planning commission correctly, would read, to limit the opportunity for public intoxication on premises or nearby, applicant agrees not to allow persons to consume alcohol on premises.
Okay. Everybody understand that change in language?
Which actually, item 2 kind of covers that, I think, already, if you.
Thank you, because I was heading that direction.
I think what they're trying to do here is get rid of the single serving, and Wyatt, Commissioner, Wyatt, brought up a good point. What is a single serving size? That's what we really need to know, because he's absolutely correct. Is it one bottle of whiskey, or is it a airplane bottle of whiskey? You know what I'm saying? It's,
That's information that we can request from the police department for clarification.
okay. I'd like to know also.
I don't look at it as single serving or as in it's sold separately. So if it's sold, one can is sold separately, whether it's a big can, little can, if it's all sold separately, then the package.
But most of your alcohol is sold separately, bottles.
Bottles of alcohol
They're
are
individually
sold
sold.
separately.
There's,
Yeah,
usually you don't
you're
get a
right.
six-pack of
I mean,
vodka.
you could buy anywhere from a half pint to a half gallon,
Yeah.
right? So what is a single serving?
One can of beer.
The way it was initially
Say it,
described to
yeah.
me was that indigent populations and such stand around a place, get donations, and when they get $1.50 or $3 or something
They
together,
can
they go
afford
in
one
and they
beer.
buy a big can of beer, and then they go drink it, and then they repeat that behavior again and again.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a behavior that the police are trying to stop or discourage.
And it makes perfect sense to me, you know, but first of all, we need to know what a single serving is, right?
Okay.
Because you can get $4 and go in and buy a half pint or whatever it costs of whatever, right? I mean, I think we need to know what they're applying here.
As Don says, we'll go and talk to OPD and get more specificity on exactly what
Okay.
they would like to see in the future.
Well, can we table this till we find out the true meaning?
Well, if this doesn't go well, though, we have the right to revoke it, right?
And we have it covered by 2, so if we just remove 4 altogether
Yeah.
and renumber, I think we're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the next time this comes up, make sure to have the details.
The clear
I wouldn't
definition
wanna
of
hold him
single
up for
service.
If this COVID thing happens, we might not have another meeting for 3 months or something. But, yeah, it's whatever you guys want to do.
If I remember right, back years ago, my father owned a restaurant and bar. And it talks about single servings. There's I don't know, call it a limitation or amount that the bartender can actually serve on a single serving. And I'm not sure if that's what this is talking about.
Well, this is a
Well-
grocery store.
Huh?
So, this is a grocery store, so it's,
And also, as Commissioner Sears had previously mentioned, item number 2 clearly describes that the applicant shall sell beer, wine, and distilled spirits only for off-site consumption indoors and not for
Indoors.
the consumption on the premises. So that
Yeah, that
factor is
covers it.
already covered.
That's,
It's
We are-
the single service.
we are
the-
counting on our applicant to enforce this and tell people you can't just go out in the parking lot and drink this,
Right.
and then rinse, repeat.
Yeah. I think number 2 covers that pretty well, so.
Yeah.
well, I think between the two conditions, you combine the two conditions, it covers the issue to me.
I don't think we need 4 at all.
Another
Yeah.
question. On number 2, and maybe I'm not reading it the correct way, applicant shall sell beer, wine, distilled spirits only for off-site consumption indoors. Well, if it's off-site, we can't tell if they're drinking it indoors or outdoors.
Meaning not on their parking
No,
lot.
no.
That's not the way I read it. Okay,
And indoors basically meaning not in the public area.
okay.
Maybe we should just say consumption, comma, and leave out the indoors thing.
Well, because we don't want them off-site and down the block.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh, okay.
right.
And that's more
off-site.
conforming with all the other
Okay.
use permits.
But
I'm
what if a
comfortable
homeless
with-
person buys one beer?
Well, they gotta go
And
home.
that's really exactly the purpose of number 4.
They have to get inside their tent.
Yes.
And it's to
That's what I
reduce
think
or
is going
eliminate
on
public
here.
intoxication.
Yeah.
So if it's the will of the planning commission, item 4 can be removed and we can bring back a request for definition from Oroville Police Department and expressly request that the applicant follow item 2 by encouraging those who consume or purchase alcohol, beer, wine, distilled spirits for off-site consumption, if that's the will of the planning commission.
Okay, what's the will of the commission?
I'm ready to make a motion, if you're ready, Chair.
Any more discussion before the motions?
Wes, you look
Would
like
you
you're.
close the hearing?
Huh?
Would you first close the hearing?
Yes. Good, thank you. Get all wrapped up in this. Okay, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion and discussion.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a recommendation to adopt the recommended findings for use permit number UP 20-05 with removing the condition number 4 and adopt resolution number P2020-09.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Flicker,
Yes,
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sears,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jenkins.
Yes.
Chairperson Darling.
Yes,
Motion carries 6-0.
thank you. Okay. We'll go on to regular business. Approval of the minutes of June 25th, 2020. Anybody have any corrections or changes? If not, ready for a motion?
I'll move approval as presented.
You make a motion?
I just did. I move approval as presented.
Okay,
I'll second
a
that.
second. We have a motion, a second, call the roll.
Commissioner Flicker,
Yes,
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sears,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jenkins.
Yes.
Chairperson Darling.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. We'll go to item 4, which is sign code amendments. I think staff has made some changes or corrections on the, bringing us up to date, and we have that here, right?
Yes. So, okay.
What, do you want to explain what the changes were and then go from there into the rest of it?
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yep, good.
Okay. So at the last sign ordinance workshop, we had discussed and also you should have received this update that has the yellow highlighting. This is all of the items that we had added at the sign code workshop. And so we'll just ready to jump right into what we added? Okay, and I'll just also let you know that what we deleted previously and the commission approved for deletion has been removed from this packet that you've received today, just to get some of the fluff off the table and we can get to the nitty-gritty.
Good.
Okay. So what was added is an expansion on non-commercial signs and messages. Any sign that is allowed under the provisions of this section may contain a non-commercial message.
What page are you reading on?
125, front page.
Okay.
And that was item A, under non-commercial signs and messages. And item B, so items, signs displaying a message which is not commercial in nature, including those that are displayed temporarily, are considered non-commercial signs. Messages typically relate to topics of public concern and debate, such as, by way of example and not limitation, religion, politics, arts, science, philosophy, commentary on governmental policy, etc. Non-commercial signs shall be allowed subject to the following requirements. So these non-commercial signs are permitted at all times in any zone. But item 2 of this, no individual signs shall exceed 6 square feet in residential zones and 32 square feet in all other zones. And no signs shall be placed within the public right-of-way so as to obstruct the regular sight of distance area. And so this figure, 26-13.020-1, is on page 135 for reference. And so this just shows the site distance areas within the public right-of-way. For item number 4, the sign shall be placed on private property, and campaign signs are subject to state law requiring temporary political signs. And so we had conferred with our city attorney regarding political signs, and his response was such that I don't recommend at all that the city regulating political signs at the city level. The state regulates them within the right-of-way, and homeowners associations can regulate those themselves. So the city just treats it as a non-commercial sign. And any questions here regarding commercial signs and messages? Okay. Next, we will move on to page 132 for items added. Signs requiring a use permit. And item A is off-premise signs and outdoor advertising, including billboards. Here, what our additions were at the sign code workshop were under the area of signs for an outdoor advertising structure located within a quarter mile of State Route 70, targeting State Route 70 traffic. The maximum sign area, and can be increased to 450 square feet on each face. My thought is to say shall be a maximum of 450 square feet on each face. Any objections to that?
No.
Okay. And number 2, under height, for an outdoor advertising structure located within 1/4 mile of State Route 70, targeting State Route 70 traffic, the maximum sign height, and again, I updated this to say shall not exceed 85 feet measured from the ground surface to the top of the sign. The need for this increased height shall be demonstrated by means of a balloon test or other approved method by the zoning administrator. Is there any objection here?
I thought that was 80 feet. It was 85?
We talked about 85.
We talked about 85 at the
Okay.
sign code workshop.
Okay. I didn't make that. That's, before it was 80, correct?
The Starbucks sign, I believe, was at 85 feet.
Okay. Right, okay, there we go, 60, okay.
On the next page, 133, under digital display signs, we have mimicked the same language as for the advertising or billboards. Is there any objection to that language here with digital display signs within this State Route 70 corridor? Yes, shall be a maximum of and shall not exceed.
Okay.
And then for the spacing of digital display signs, at the sign code workshop, it was recommended for Highway 70 distance to be 1 mile from 2 miles. Okay, good. Any questions so far?
No.
Next, on page 135,
Oh, 133 is, note that we changed the Highway 70 is 1 mile distance.
Yes.
Don, Stott had some comments on these particular versions. I don't know if you wanted to have them comment now or later or what.
So, go ahead.
Can you take a note of the ones you want to make a comment on? Sure.
Yes,
then-
this was also handed to the commissioners of the comments that were received via email to the city clerk on the planning comments email. And so you will all have that with the pictures included as to what Stott's comments are. So if you would like to read what the comments are now, or we can wait until we are
You
done.
get through,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
what you're doing right now, get through that, and then we can start the new stuff.
Okay, sounds good. So back on page 135, under the directory signs, it was added, item 3, section C, or section C, item 3, vice versa. We added a "You are here" marker indicating the current location for a directory sign. So if you were pulling into an apartment complex and there was a directory sign, there is now a requirement of a "You are here" marker on that sign. Okay. The next item added, is on page 136, at the bottom, under D, freestanding signs, item 3. That was increased to a maximum of 85 feet, as previously discussed. And on the next page, we added, the planning commission can approve an increase in the allowed height of a freestanding sign if the need for the increase is demonstrated by means of a balloon test or other method approved by the zoning administrator.
And what that does is avoid having to do variances.
I thought that
That's
would be a variance if we did that.
If
By
approved by the
ordinance-
zoning administrator,
Yeah, by ordinance, we are allowed to make the change.
Yes.
You don't need a variance.
yes.
So we avoid a whole lot of variances.
So the
And if
planning
they-
commission has the discretion to approve it.
Right, and if the applicant doesn't like it, he can appeal it to the city council.
Okay.
So,
And then, moving on to page 141. And this is under the temporary signs section. Subsection F, temporary non-commercial signs. Temporary signs displaying a message that is not commercial in nature are subject to the provisions outlined in this section, 26-19-090, temporary signs, and in this section, 26-19020, non-commercial signs and messages. So that's what we had previously discussed. And that would be the end of the additions from the sign code workshop. Again, with all the approved deletions removed already. And so now on page 142, under 26-19-110, requirements for residential districts, this is where we left off previously.
right. Now, let's go over the, I don't know, call it a letter or email or whatever, that the sign gentleman would like to discuss with us.
Okay.
Let's get through that, one way or the other.
Okay.
And then we can go back and start this, decisions on the rest of the ordinance. Okay? Okay.
Great, well, thank you, Chair Durling, members of the commission, staff. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Durling, members of the commission and staff. Thank you for taking a look at the email that I sent earlier this week. By and large, we're in agreement with the changes which were made to the draft ordinance as proposed by staff and as discussed at the previous meeting. There was one new item, item number 2, just has to do with maintenance and change in messages. Basically just a slight little reference to state law, which allows things like these temporary extensions which are explicitly allowed in state law, to be added to an existing sign without having to obtain a new permit. And I provided an example. This is that one here, the Gold Country Casino example. So these are little temporary plywood extensions that get attached to the sign. So I just wanted to clarify that that would also be allowed under normal maintenance. And then,
And that, as you're talking about this photograph here?
correct.
Would that make that sign over 85 feet?
Well, that sign itself is only, I believe, 35 or 40 feet.
Okay, but I'm
because there's
just
no trees.
saying, if you had an 85-foot sign and you wanted to put an extension on it, would that put it over the 85 feet?
It potentially could. Realistically, a sign that's 85 feet, that's such a long lever arm that you're going to be very cautious about adding any additional sail area that high up. So it's really more for the shorter signs. But yes, there are provisions in state law. They actually have percentages of how much further it can go, but it has to be a temporary extension. It can't be a permanent one.
Is this temporary on this photo? It looks permanent.
That is temporary. The round portions,
Yeah.
accommodating that, when that sign copy changes out, those will be removed.
Okay. I had a question about, when you build the original sign, okay, it's structured for wind load,
Correct.
okay? But when you add something like this, you're increasing, is there an analysis done to make sure that you're still within the wind load capacity of the structure itself?
Yes, every single one of our structures is a fully engineered steel structure that meets current California building code. And in terms of the actual area of the sign, it does include that additional provision for temporary extensions. We certainly don't want our signs falling over. We don't want them
No.
injuring anyone. And
But there would be an upper limit. I mean, if you went up 20 feet, there would,
yeah, 20 feet would not be allowed. Practically speaking, you're never going to go wider than about 4 feet because that's the width of a sheet of plywood.
okay. I just wanted that clear,
Yeah.
because I've seen these being blown over. Utah is notorious for it. I don't know if you've been in Utah, but,
Stott has the happy privilege of having signs as far east as Winnemucca, but we don't go into Utah at this time.
yeah, well, I've seen the sign get blown over,
Right.
so, okay.
And then the area and height, what staff is proposing is fine. It's actually a little taller than we were anticipating. One thing I would throw out there, because I kind of suggested this intermediate size of 500 square feet. This is before I had seen the revised version with the new 450. 450 can work. There would be a little bit more flexibility if we could bump that up just a tiny bit to 480. One of the other common sizes that we do is 12 by 40, which is 480. And that's a different form factor in terms of the aspect ratio. A lot of newer signs tend to be a little bit wider and not as tall. And so that 12 by 40 shape could be accommodated with 480 as opposed to 450. But if you guys want to do 450, we'll make it work with 450.
Okay.
And then, oh, one thing I just realized earlier today when I was looking at this, I don't know the page number, it's section 26190.040D exempt signs. It's probably not critical, but adding signs at transit stops, which are approved by the local transit authority. For example, Stott Outdoor Advertising does operate all of the transit bus shelters and the advertising for Beeline. So just an acknowledgement that those signs that do show up at the transit shelters are exempt from the sign code because they're done through an open governmental process.
Is staff aware of that? I mean, was staff aware?
I'm just saying that for the first time here today. I just literally 10 minutes ago, so.
Okay. So they can exceed what we would normally allow if it's at a bus.
Well, it's the approved design, that you have at a bus shelter. It's part of the shelter design. And it's just an acknowledgement that amongst the many other types of exempt signs, which don't need to get a permit from the city, are those which are basically operating under a master permit between Stott Outdoor Advertising and Beeline in a number of communities throughout Butte County.
Yeah, but that's approved by Beeline, right? And
Correct.
what's the size? I mean, is
4 by
there,
6.
huh?
4 by 6. Yeah, it's literally built into the shelter design.
Okay.
So, I mean, no one has raised it as an issue yet. I was just looking over this with my very fine-tooth comb and saying, oh, well, it doesn't address that. And so if you wanted to address it, great. If we want to let sleeping dogs lie, that's fine too.
Like one wall of shelter is a sign.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's the commission's pleasure, that exempt sign section starts on page 130 on the original and goes over to page 132 with 17 exceptions listed. And if it's the commission's pleasure, we can add number 18, signs at bus shelters.
Yeah. Placed with authorization of the transit authority. So,
You got that, Steph?
and other than that, I'm just really here to answer any questions that you might have related to the proposed changes as they relate to outdoor advertising.
Any questions of the applicant? I'm terrible with names. What's your name?
Greg Rediker.
Ray?
Stop. Greg.
Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, I can remember Greg. All right, Greg.
Okay.
Any questions?
I just appreciate all his input.
Yes.
Thank you.
Problem.
Absolutely.
You guys have a hard task. I've worked on the public side of the counter. And so you guys have respect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why did you give us this one?
Oh, that was just to make sure that we were clear about the size of that one digital sign.
And then we made it bigger.
Yeah, yeah, so, thank
You
you.
said that the round part and all that is temporary, is that right?
Correct, yeah, that sign is rectangular, the permanent portion is rectangular.
And
So,
what is temporary?
temporary is, I believe, no more than, I would need to look it up, but it's either 12 or 24 months, I want to say.
Okay.
Because a lot of these contracts are a year long for the advertisement, so,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, staff, we want to continue on page 142.
Yes, okay.
That's where we're at right now.
That is where we are. 26-19, 110, requirements for residential districts. Has the planning commission had a chance to review these last few pages? We're almost there.
Yep.
Okay. So for page 142, we've updated it from dwelling to single-family unit and multiple family developments. And then in item 1, each single-family residence may display one wall, window, banner, canopy, or freestanding sign with a maximum of 5 square feet. Item 2, we added any monument, freestanding, or other sign not affixed to a building shall not exceed 4 square feet in height. Any questions there?
I don't know how to put this. Not exceed 4 feet in height. Okay, so basically, I'm trying to picture like you have on a, like here. They could actually build the sign sitting on the ground and be 4 feet tall, right?
Yes.
Because it just says, shall not exceed 4 feet in
Yeah, a
height.
monument, freestanding, or other sign not affixed to a building shall not exceed 4 feet in height.
So it can be put on the ground and be 4 feet tall.
Yes.
And how wide?
The width would be, let me me see.
I can't hear you.
If it's coming from the ground, a monument sign would be from the ground up, right? So it'd be 1 foot by 4 foot.
Well, are you referring to item 1?
4 square feet is the maximum square footage.
Oh, no. Shall not exceed 4 feet in height.
We're not talking about square feet here in item, new item 2.
Is
We're
that the
talking
sign,
about
is that
height.
the sign itself? Just the sign itself? So if I had a 4-foot sign, could I put it on a pole?
No, not
It has
according to
be.
this.
Okay.
But a person could get the maximum sign area by sitting it on the ground. It gives them 4 feet of sign,
Okay.
but I don't know what the width is.
Well, maximum area is 5 square feet. I'm sorry.
No, that's for, well,
And to me, if you're gonna, I don't like reading this and then having to go another section to answer the question about area.
Yeah, the maximum area is 5 square feet.
That needs to be stated in here too.
Okay.
So this section is temporary non-commercial signs? Is that what
Residential.
we're in?
we're in residential.
No, this is requirements for residential
But what
districts.
type of sign is that we're
Yeah,
talking
what's an
about right now?
example of one of these signs?
Well, I believe that it would be one of these home sales signs.
Actually, that's under a separate
That's
That
temporary.
is under a
temporary.
That's temporary.
It would be
Would be a
for
good definition
like an
of this.
apartment complex.
Somebody's running a business out of their home.
No, I think it'd be
No.
for like an apartment complex, and you'd say like Hillview Apartments or Hillside Apartments, is what I
Yes.
envision this being.
That's correct.
Yeah, a residential,
But what single-family residence would be displaying a sign? And what,
well, you could have an entrance to a subdivision. I mean, if you drive down Grand, there's, I'm trying to think of the name of a couple of these subdivisions that actually have a name. I think it was Gray something. There's a couple subdivisions on Grand when you're coming off Highway 70 toward Table Mountain, and they have a name on it. That's so many, Greyhawk? I don't remember what it was.
Usually
Yes.
much larger than 5 square feet.
Yeah, no, usually they would be. Yeah, so, but I think that's the intent of this residential, which should be a multifamily,
I'm
could be
only
an
think-
apartment complex, right? A
I'm only
apartment-
thinking of item 1 where it says single-family residence. And I'm trying to wrap my head around a sign at a single-family residence.
And I'm not sure how this is different from the non-commercial signs and messages.
That's what I was just thinking. Wes, what do you think would be a good example
The
of?
5 square foot sign, so this is in any residential zone. So they're trying to limit commercial signs. So to my way of thinking, it would be a for sale sign, a for rent sign, a happy graduation Connor sign.
That's what I was
Something like
thinking.
that.
But that's a
I got one, thank you.
temporary sign.
And in a multifamily.
But in a residential district.
In a
not-
multifamily area, it would be a sign, directing you to the office or telling you that there are vacancies.
Or lease.
Or, yes, other types of things like that.
Yeah.
Some of that seems to fall under the non-commercial though, and then the non-commercial, they have the 6 feet, and then in this section, we have the 5 feet. So I don't.
It's just trying to limit the size of signs specifically within residential districts.
But we're not limiting the size of the sign on item 2, it's only the height.
Yes.
It covers that.
But then you have to go in another section to figure out, what I'm saying, I hate going to multiple sections to get one question answered.
I'm thinking, what if I wanted to put a big San Francisco Giants sign in my front window?
Why can't it say,
You know,
4 feet in height to a maximum of X square feet?
And we can change it to say that.
To me, it makes sense, I mean,
Well, and
Because, you know,
I
if
kind of
if-
go back to the address sign where somebody wanted to make a nice monument sign out of their address with their name on it.
right.
It would be a maximum height of 4 feet, but a maximum square footage of 5 feet.
But, okay, so you're saying you have to
I don't recall
combine,
where the 4 feet came
you have to
from.
combine 1 and 2 in order to have it for a single-family residence. But what about an apartment complex? Or what about a subdivision, which is not a single-family residence?
Well, they have the next one, in the
Well-
multifamily residential development that contains at least 4 dwelling units, 1 additional wall, window, banner, or canopy sign with a maximum area of 10 square feet shall
Exactly.
be allowed for the entire development. Not eternally
So you still
limited.
have to combine
I'm just hung up on
2 and
this.
3 together to get the square.
And they
And-
have subdivision signs.
3 is already existing, and item 1 is already existing, but only with the change of single-family residence.
Right.
So it's already an existing code. All we did was add, any monument, freestanding, or other sign not affixed to a building shall not exceed 4 feet in height and 5 square feet.
So if I wanted to hang a flag.
That's not referring back to item 1. It just, they're,
Why did they add number 2? I mean, if.
I don't recall the discussion there. But we can add a maximum square footage to item number 2, if that
Yeah,
is the
I
will.
mean,
Absolutely.
and what's in other sections of the ordinance, what's the maximum square footage? Joe
Well,
mentioned?
and again, this is for residential and
street, then-
multifamily developments or districts. So
whatever
I
you
think the
say.
intent is to keep it on the smaller size so that it's not an obstruction to limit commercial advertisement.
Yeah, 4
Yeah.
feet in height to a maximum of X square feet. Whatever, was it, you said 6?
Well, 6 was for the non-commercial signs and messages in the residential zone.
Well, everything else is 10 square feet
Yeah.
in the rest of the
Well,
code.
6 times 4, that's 24 square feet. That's,
Well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the whole 4 feet in height as the sign. It could also be on legs as the one in the
no,
photo
but I'm
is.
saying, I'm playing, how can I get the maximum size sign? Well, according to this, if I set the sign on the ground, I've got 4 feet of height. And
But
if the
let's give it a
maximum-
square footage.
Huh?
Let's give it a maximum square footage, so 6 square feet. And they can have a 2x3 sign maximum.
So, 6 square feet, how do you get?
Which is still a
6
very
square
large
feet
sign.
on 4 feet of height? What's the math there?
So
Make it 8 square feet.
Well, it could be, if the sign's on a post, it can't be higher than 4
4
feet.
feet.
Yeah, I know that. I'm saying,
But the sign could be 2.5 feet square on a 4-foot post.
yeah, still, if you set it on the ground, you're gonna get more square feet.
How many
Then
of
it's
these
gonna
do
be
we
a
really
2.5
have?
foot square foot sign on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there a preference for a maximum square footage for item 2?
Was it 6?
It doesn't matter to me. The only thing I guess that, I don't know, confuses me, but it'd be nice, I guess, if it was just, explain better what signs they were talking about or that we meant. But I guess that's tough.
Well, and we can add that now.
Yeah, any monument, freestanding sign, or other sign in a single-family, well, it comes under, we're talking about single-family units and multifamily developments
Residential districts.
in a residential district.
So it doesn't
I
have
just-
to be a development specifically, just residential districts in
Right.
general.
It's a type of sign though, so like a commercial, I guess it would be a commercial sign because the other section is for non-commercial signs.
So if somebody was advertising their personal business, that they couldn't have a giant billboard on their front lawn, it would have to be this maximum square footage, no higher than 4 feet.
There you go.
Childcare,
Childcare.
Amway, any
There
of
you go.
those, yeah.
Right, I guess if we said something about commercial or something like that, it would just help me anyway, but, I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
Well, I'd like to see,
Commercial or non-commercial message?
I'm just talking about the square footage. I'd like that,
Well, we have the non-commercial, area that has the residential zones
yeah,
in
that's
it,
covered.
so.
I'm
Okay.
just talking about this here. I'd like to see 4 feet in height to a maximum of X square feet. Is it 6 square feet? That's fine.
Okay.
So you can have a sign that's 4 by 2, or no, 3 feet by 2 feet, that's 6 square feet. You can have it sit on the ground. And you can have,
And that's still a pretty
That's-
large sign.
right, if you set it on the ground. Now, if you put it on a pole, then you're gonna increase the height, and by increasing the height, you're reducing the square footage.
True.
Depending on which way you turn that, Carl, it's on either a 1-foot pole or a 2-foot pole, depending
Whatever.
on which way you turn it.
Well, you're not necessarily reducing the square footage.
not part of the
You're just
square footage.
limiting how high
High,
that sign can
the
be installed.
It's the square footage. Unless you make it wide.
Unless you-
I
That's
mean,
what I just said.
you can make it 1 inch by, you know, so wide and still be within the square
But
footage.
you can still
and
set
be-
it on legs, and that doesn't count as the square footage, just the sign is the square footage at a maximum height of 4 feet. So that 2x3 sign cannot go any higher than 4 feet, is what we're saying.
That's what yeah. So you put it on 1 foot
2x3 is a
pole.
good size for a neighborhood.
A very good size. So you can even reduce that to 5 square feet. If that's the will of the commission.
Whatever, I'd just like to see if the height,
I'm asking the commission what their decision is.
so,
So 5 square feet would be what, 2'6" by 2'6"?
I like 6.
Yeah, you did 2.5 square or
Six-
1 by 5.
2x3 is,
I guess,
5 foot.
yeah.
5 feet?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I like.
that's not even a 2x3.
What, when you go to Depot or whatever, what's a typical board that you would buy to make a sign?
4x8 plywood.
You mean like a piece of plywood?
Well, I don't want a sheet. I- You
buy
take a sheet of
or you
plywood.
buy a half a sheet. So it's a
Or
4x8 or a 4, you can buy a 2 foot by 2 foot.
Yeah. I'm just trying to save some single-family guy or gal having to go buy a piece of wood that's larger than,
You can buy a half a sheet of plywood, which is 4 by 4.
That's 16 though.
Well, then you cut
Or
it
2 by
down
2.
to what you
Yeah,
so
want.
well, that's
whatever.
what he's
It's
saying. He doesn't-
4
Yeah.
feet in height to a maximum
You're
of 6
not
square
gonna-
feet. It's fine with
I'm
me.
happy with the 6.
Okay.
Huh?
'Cause that's a 2x3.
Okay, 6 feet?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
big.
I say
Because 5 is
5.
such an odd
Well,
number.
it's
to-
2'6" by 2'6".
So number one, lists freestanding signs at a maximum of 5 square feet. So item 2 then either needs to list freestanding signs at maximum 5 square feet, or we need to change number 1 by deleting freestanding or change it to 6. So these two must be consistent.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why we keep it at 5.
What's a realty sign? You guys, do you know how many square feet that is?
Most of them are 18 by 24.
Mine's
So a
eight-
foot and a
mine's
half by
18
2 feet.
36.
So that's probably about 5 square feet? I don't know right now.
So-
One
It's
point-
less than 5 square feet.
So you said, Randy, what'd you say it was, 18 by 24?
Actually, a little bit bigger. 18
Mine's
by
like
24 with-
36.
With a rider,
3
maybe
feet.
26. Yeah,
Mine's a 36, because
Yeah,
some
36.
companies go a little bit larger.
just, yeah,
I don't know what
3
age-
feet by 18 inches by, or,
approximately.
18 inches.
That's 4.5 square feet.
Pretty big, yeah.
So that's still the
as long
5
as
feet would
okay.
work, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I say 5 foot.
and it's
Will not
consistent,
exceed 4 feet in height or 5 square feet total.
because
Yeah.
1 and 2 would be 5, would be consistent.
Yep.
So are we removing freestanding signs from item 2?
Doing what?
Removing freestanding signs from item 2? Or are we keeping it at 5 square feet?
We're keeping it at 5 square
Okay.
feet. No greater than 4 feet in height.
Right.
Right.
Now we're
Sorry,
consistent.
So much time on that. Is that,
That's okay.
So to clarify now that we're at 5 square feet, should I change also for our non-commercial signs that from 6 to 5? In
that's a
page
non-
126.
Because not commercial, non-commercial signs? But it's not in a residential.
So when I had drafted it, I had said 6 square feet in residential zones and 32 square feet in all other zones. Just for,
That number came from where, the state?
when I was doing research, 6 square feet was the average for a political yard sign that you would see on those metal stakes in someone's front yard, so that could be changed.
But that's temporary, though. Doesn't that change? That's a different, because like usually a political one's considered temporary.
And didn't we just say the political signs are gonna be governed by the state
Yeah.
or not?
That's what she said, right?
Yeah, on political signage, that, for commercial and residential, that comment, let me go back.
So
Political
the,
signs in the right-of-way are governed by the state.
Well,
Yeah, but he's got a point.
What about on private
'cause on
property?
126, it says 6 square feet.
so you can put your campaign sign,
It's a half sheet of plywood in your front yard.
Clinton for president, on your lawn at 6 square feet, but you can only advertise your babysitting or your Amway business at 5 square feet. That's the way it reads now.
Yes.
Because the 6 foot's temporary.
Yes, the
Hopefully
temporary
within
sign can go
90
to 6
days, it'll
square
be
feet.
Gone.
Well, we aren't putting the 90-day limit on it.
Oh, I thought it was
And
on
also,
there.
that's non-commercial on page 126.
Okay, are we clear now on requirements in residential districts, or for residential districts?
I hope.
It's going to be 5 square feet, consistent with item 1, at a maximum of 4 feet high.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Requirements for downtown historic overlay districts.
What page are we on?
Where are you at?
This is page 144,
Okay,
and this also carries on to page 150, but there are tables in between.
okay.
And so, here are my other notes.
I didn't know we were covering this today.
Okay, for this section, we have added a few subsections and amended a few of the subsections. So, for development review, in any case where a sign permit is required in a downtown historic overlay district, development review of the sign shall also be required, as we did with the new Union Restaurant.
Right.
Types of signs. Freestanding signs and monument signs shall be prohibited in downtown historic overlay districts. That's an added.
So I have a question. Downtown overlay, the education building that has that park, she kind of looks down onto, is that in the historical?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the Rotary just installed a sign,
It's an existing non-conforming sign, should this be passed and approved.
so it would still be okay. Okay.
We won't make you remove it.
It's so nice.
But if it is removed for whatever reason, it cannot be replaced, because it would be non-conforming at that point.
So kind of grandfathered in.
Yes.
Okay.
Lighting has been updated in this item. Internally illuminated signs shall be prohibited in the downtown historic overlay district. Externally illuminated signs shall be allowed, subject to the requirements found in section 26-19-060F, location, placement, and design of signs, lighting.
but we've already allowed internally lit signs.
And this is an updated. So the existing code reads, internally illuminated and non-lighted signs shall require the approval of the Historic Advisory Commission and the Downtown Historic Overlay.
That's the current.
That's the current.
So now you're just saying no, that we can't, even, they can't come before us?
They cannot be internally illuminated. Externally illuminated signs shall be allowed.
So you
So you
can have a
have a
light shining on it, but you
You
can't
have
have
a
it.
spotlight on it from the ground, you could do a ground light.
But we just approved the Union, which is an internally lit sign, I believe. And we've approved other internally lit signs, including the Lyman College.
They are currently
And
acceptable.
Yeah,
So why are we changing that?
in the state too?
Obviously, we've allowed
they
it.
were grandfathered in.
Okay.
I believe, if I recall correctly, the discussion was that they didn't want to modernize or commercialize the downtown in that way. They wanted it to remain in a historic nature. So neon signs were discussed because of the City of Paris sign. That was a neon sign. So those were some of the examples.
Those are exemption, I mean, those are grandfathered in.
Yes, that is.
And so we're not allowing no new.
Well, and that was my
neon.
question is why? Why the change? Well,
Could
we've
we-
had, we've had them before, that's why she was explaining.
Could we say something like internally illuminated signs shall be subject to review of the Historical Advisory Board?
Absolutely.
I'd rather see that than just say no.
And put the language back in?
I agree,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That, I think there is a place for some internally lit. It gives a little bit more, it does help businesses. And I think helping the businesses, most of the people, applicants that have asked for it have been small businesses, like Nelson's. And the fact that we made exceptions already, I'm comfortable with it becoming before the Historical Advisory Commission.
Okay.
I'd rather see it than banned. Because we're gonna have another business come in and ask for a variance, since we've allowed, I mean, we can change it absolutely right now. This board can say, we don't want any more internally lit signs.
Right.
But I'm personally comfortable with, as long as they're within, agreeable before the commission, we're not gonna allow a giant, moving banner sign, I think, or internally lit sign, so, but, yeah.
Could we like even say like something about, do we want to say like discouraged or something? But, I mean, do you want to discourage people from applying for it? But, I mean,
I think in the downtown historic overlay district, it would be a case-by-case basis. They all have to be reviewed regardless. So I think it would, if it's something that the body is completely in opposition to, they could request an amendment from the landowner for that sign. But again, this is at the discretion of the planning commission.
I hate to always see when somebody's got some really nice plans all drawn up and then you got to say, we don't like that.
Well, and you are safeguarded in the fact that currently it says internally illuminated and neon lighted signs shall require the approval of the Historic Advisory Commission in the downtown historic overlay.
It's a possibility that we could include like a list of encouraged signs, so like a internally illuminated backlit sign could be one instead of just having, for example, like Marshall's where they have it, all the individual letters are lit up, but have it, backlit. Something like that, so where the applicant before then can design it to where, before they show up to us, okay, we encourage the backlit sign, it's not so bright, obtrusive, something like that.
I really like the idea of what we would encourage so that a developer could see, okay, the city likes this before they
Yeah.
plan something.
We can absolutely add that language.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll bring it back for review again. Let me see. Okay, and then item
I
D,
don't know.
go ahead.
I'm sitting here thinking of if I should say something or not. My whole problem with this historic preservation of the downtown, you're putting any business that goes into the downtown at a competitive disadvantage of any one similar business outside of the historic area. And logically, you would think that would discourage people from coming and opening a business in the historic area of Oroville. And it bothers me that that's inherent or built in, that discouragement is inherent or built in to the system. And I don't know, I know it's a balancing act trying to protect, I know we went through it, I remember big discussions in Folsom. We're trying to maintain the historic integrity of old, they call it Old Folsom, and yet have the flexibility of people being able to compete. And they made some interesting adjustments in terms of signage, so that it would encourage people to come downtown. But then they brought the rail line in, that changed everything. They brought, much easier for people to get into downtown and Folsom, and so the concern about the competitiveness disappeared.
Yeah.
But we don't have that here. We don't have a means of drawing a lot of people to the downtown, so that the numbers of people would compensate for the disadvantage that the signage differences will create for businesses here versus businesses on Orland Boulevard.
Right.
So to me,
But I think it's also one of the appeals being in the downtown historic overlay.
I can't hear you.
I think it's also one of the appeals being in the downtown historic overlay district or in the historic downtown district, is to not have it overly modernized and commercialized.
It won't be a place for big box stores.
True.
There's certain types of merchants that will seek out places like this.
Exactly.
Because of the overlay.
I don't know, downtown's dying.
I don't know if it's dying.
50% of the buildings downtown are dead, or empty. And I've heard comments.
I feel the appeal was really ramping up until COVID hit.
I agree.
That's my personal
Probably will
opinion.
lose a
it
lot of
was-
little ones.
We're gonna,
It was dying
and we're gonna
before
lose
COVID.
more.
Yeah, we have a couple of restaurants that are really drawing a lot of people to them right now, downtown
Yep.
lots, more than they could probably handle.
And our downtown business association has now collaborated with the Riverfront District, and they're creating a really good, it's overused, but synergy downtown.
Synergism between the. Yeah, see, that's the kind of solution to my concern.
Yes, and that's creating, they have done a very
Yeah.
good job with encouraging more business downtown.
Anyway, that's my two cents. I just
Mm-hmm.
bothers me.
So where we ended the discussion is we'd like to leave it open at the discretion of the planning commission or historical advisory commission, instead of just completely banning it, right? So you're gonna look into that.
Yes. And so another thing we can do, you mentioned Folsom's downtown historic district. We can look at what their sign ordinance reads and bring back an option there. Because once we complete these amendments, we'll bring you back a final draft for one more review and then for approval.
Sounds good. I like that.
I like
Well-
it too. I like that.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have access to it, but there's a historical area in Truckee too, downtown, the old Truckee,
Right.
which doesn't have a lot of internally lit signs. We've been through there once. And maybe look at a couple of districts if we can, like Nevada City, Truckee, and your Folsom.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me see.
What page are we on now?
We are still on page 150. Item D, exemption for historic signs. Any sign that is contributing or is a contributing feature of a downtown historic overlay district and does not advertise a business that is currently in operation shall not require a sign permit. In addition, any such sign shall not be counted towards the allowable signage area or number of signs for a building or use. So again, this would be referring to the City of Paris sign. So if a business came in and wanted to add signage to that building, that City of Paris sign would not count towards the signage
Okay.
limits for that building.
Okay.
Any questions there?
Nope.
Okay, next, completely added section for A-frame signs. So A-frame signs are permitted per business, or one per business, in the downtown historic overlay in the public right-of-way. And all signs shall, and there's items 1 through 10, be able to withstand wind, be located directly in front of the business, not unreasonably interfere with or impede the flow of pedestrian traffic, shall not create visibility hazards for pedestrians, shall, or not be attached or secured in any way to any objects in the public right-of-way, not endanger the safety of persons on the property. Yes, Commissioner Sears, you had a question?
I just skipped 5.
Oh, I apologize. Not interfere with the ingress or egress from any residence or place of business. Item 8, not restrict the use of poles, posts, traffic signs, or signals, utility access vaults, manholes, hydrants, mailboxes, and other objects permitted at or near such a location. Have any balloons, streamers, pennants, or other objects designed or fastened in such a manner to move upon being subjected to pressure by wind or breeze. And 10, obstruct the wheelchair ramp or violate any pedestrian path of travel or other requirements as may be required by the Americans with Disability Act.
Okay, on 8, we just need to make sure it says signals.
Traffic signs or
Is it
signals.
S?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Are we doing maximum area on that?
That one does have a maximum area, and we have discussed the maximum area in a previous section.
I think we were gonna talk about the red flag sign, that area on that one.
Yes, and I apologize, I
No
did not
problem.
get the area for that sign.
It looks so big in that picture.
And it's
then
really not that big.
It's not. When I drove
It's-
home, I went, oh, wow.
small.
It's
I
very
think that looks,
small.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, with the big shadow.
Picture looks
Yes.
big. Yeah, it's not that big.
I just wouldn't wanna,
It's probably
Kick-
more of
kick
those
them out
2
of
by
a-
3s. And maybe that.
Up under E, it says all signs shall, right?
Yes,
Okay, all signs shall, 10, all signs shall obstruct a wheelchair ramp or violate.
oh, this should have not obstruct. Thank you.
And 9 also.
All signs shall have
Not
any
any
balloons, streamers, or
Not
pennants.
have.
So we need
Or,
to,
yeah, you're
Yes.
right.
so you need to look at the syntax of,
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
the
The not
relationship.
doesn't belong there. But should be not.
where it says all signs shall, we need to have the syntax correct.
Yes, shall not have balloons and shall not obstruct
No, no,
wheelchair
the
ramp.
balloons are okay because it said shall have any, it shall have them designed and fastened in such a
All
way.
signs shall have any balloons, streamers,
So
or
it's
pennants.
okay there.
That's,
Signed and
whatever
fastened
language you want to use,
center.
the syntax needs to
So
be
they can
correct
still
is
have
all.
balloons
We'll
on
make it
their
correct.
signs.
But 10 needs not obstruct a wheelchair.
And before we get too much further, I'd entertain a motion to recess, because I've got to go to the little boy's room. Anybody want to make a motion for me?
I won't stand in your way. I'll so move.
Second?
Okay? I'll take a 5-minute break then.
Okay.
We didn't vote.
We don't have to vote on it, do we?
A motion, a second.
Motion second. Everyone, yes?
All in favor?
Everybody wants
Aye.
yes.
Everybody, we're good?
We're all in favor.
The one good thing is it's taped, so you can go back and you can slow it down, take notes.
Yeah.
I get,
We're almost there. Okay, the finish line is ahead. 150. This section has been added. It's creative signs. A, the purpose. This section establishes standards and procedures for design, review, and approval of creative or artistic signs. The purpose of this section is to, and I'm crossing out are and making it is. Yes. 1, encourage signs of unique design and that exhibit a high degree of originality, thoughtfulness, imagination, inventiveness, and creativity. And, item 2, provide a process for the application of sign regulations in a way that will allow creatively designed signs that make a positive visual contribution to the property, the surrounding area, and the overall image of the city, while mitigating the impacts of large or unusually designed signs. Any questions for that first section?
Yeah. It says this section established the standards and procedures. And yet we have a whole lot of things that really aren't standards, I guess. What's a standard, originality standard? I mean, I guess these are all standards.
Why don't we just say procedures? And leave the standards out. Just say establishes procedures for the design, review, and approval of creative. Because you can't set standards. Each sign is unique. So I think we ought to leave the standards out.
Commissioners?
Yeah, you said this section establishes the procedures, blah, 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 blah.
Procedures.
And then start off with, to get the syntax better, to encourage signs, and then to provide, put the word to in, to provide a process or to encourage signs.
Well, but we say the purpose of this section is to, encourage signs and provide.
There's no size limit, there's no limitation.
Well, that
Do
was
they have
getting
to
to
be
the
brought
second question.
before us?
No, actually just the DRC committee.
It is at the discretion of the DRC.
That was getting to my second question. Who approves these?
The DRC.
DRC.
I don't
Development
know.
Review Committee.
So
So
why,
2 members of the planning commission approve it.
why this creative sign?
Approve
Ordinance.
applications, but they'd still have to come to the planning commission, right?
No.
No,
Wait.
not the way it reads
No?
now.
Not the way it reads, no.
Why do we even need this creative sign addition?
This was brought forward by a previous director. So
I don't know that we even need it.
can we, if the planning commission wishes, we can remove this.
I think that would be
Well,
easier.
it's got so many holes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me.
Let's-
many
let's-
holes.
Let's take
If
it.
you're gonna do anything,
Take it out.
if somebody wants to do a interesting, different kind of sign, it should go to the historic, if it's in the district, aren't we also the historic body?
I think previous staff had suggested something like an ice cream shop wants to put up a 3D ice cream cone and it didn't fit anywhere else. So this was like a section for
A way of
something like that, because there was nothing else it would fall under.
Right.
So some way to encourage creativity and
Right.
something that enhances the look of the city.
And you jogged my memory. Another item or a sign that was brought up was the Starbucks sign. That was the coffee cup. And it looked like coffee was spilling over or
Right.
something. And that didn't necessarily fit within our existing guidelines. And so that was something that could be considered or reviewed as a creative sign.
Well, rather than go through all the stuff in there, why don't we just say,
But
a creative sign shall be approved by the DRC? And just let it go like
That's fine.
that.
We can do that.
Or even the planning commission.
I think it needs to
Or
go
the-
before the planning
Or
commission.
the
yeah.
planning commission, you know, just,
But it still should meet the general sign requirements, because we have spherical, conical, still, we still have, we still have size limits, it's all in there.
hard to
If it
believe
doesn't
it
quite
fit.
meet that, they put, they can come before us for a variance on any sign.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
was
if the
to-
creativity is outside our limits.
I think it was
they're-
to-
They can still ask.
I think it was to encourage the creativity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you get creative, you have more leeway. But
Well, an applicant may request approval of a sign permit to authorize creative signs that employ standards that differ from other sign provisions.
But I think the whole
But
reason
I'm
we
not
have the
happy with two
provisions.
people approving it.
No, but I think the whole reason we have the conditions though is to try to meet a certain standard.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, somebody comes with a creative sign and it's, I'm just gonna throw out like it's a naked lady or something. It's creative, you know. Then that's gonna create the controversy. I mean, we're trying to
But
come
it
up with.
doesn't enhance,
So we
I'll
can
never-
amend.
That's your opinion.
I'll never
it's not theirs,
forget.
so-
I'll tell you.
it's in the
We
eye
can,
of the
am-
beholder.
Oh, go ahead.
I
I'm
worked
sorry.
for the city of Sacramento and a sign was approved by a committee. And it was in a city council member's area and he had no idea. In fact, nobody knew it until it was built. And boy, the stuff hit the fan, let me tell you. And staff got reamed, not fairly, because they were just going by what the rules said. But the rules got changed. And you gotta be really careful when you just have two people doing something in a room by, and it's not out in a forum.
But like,
And doing something really, beautiful, but what about not beautiful?
yeah,
Right.
and
You know.
who's gonna determine that?
And
Like,
that's what I'm saying. To me, it should be the planning commission, not DRC.
I agree,
And so we can amend our amended
To the C.
statement here
yeah.
that the planning commission shall review and approve applications for creative
go.
signs.
I'm much happier with that.
Just keep that simple. The rest of the verbiage, are we gonna take everything else out on there or?
No, we need to show that we're encouraging creativity.
Right.
Like, let's say you're gonna put in a sporting goods store that specializes in hiking and that kind of thing. And you wanna put a Matterhorn or a row of Rocky Mountains or the Tetons or something. And it's really a weird sign, but it would be gorgeous. It would really add something.
I have a problem with this because pretty much if I make a sign in any, shape or whatever, then I can, instead of trying to do a variance or the normal I'm just gonna call it, I'd like to apply for a creative sign. And under this ordinance.
Yeah.
And then that kind of wipes out any conforming standard.
I would think the
Authorization.
sign
Well-
would have to conform to the area requirements
Yeah, but
and
who-
height requirements and
Who's
everything
gonna
else.
decide it's,
We're talking about a type of sign.
But
But it still has to
I
meet
think
the
every sign
standards.
could be a creative sign.
it doesn't say
An
that.
example would be the union sign we just approved that's internally lit. It has a fork that's lit, right? That's
And I
kind
think
of
it's-
creative.
I think it's good. Yeah, we approved it.
That sign still falls within the size restraints.
Yeah, well, actually, we went a little bit higher on the height.
Right, right, that's true.
Well, if we're gonna have the commission, okay, if we're gonna have the commission do it, then I don't have that much of a problem with 1 and 2, all the language in there, because that is what elicits the debate. So we have the debate amongst us, is this creative? Oh, no, yes, yeah, no, yeah. Or is this that? Does this mitigate? So you have a debate.
Right.
And to me, it's the debate process that we need to maintain if we're going to do something like this.
So let
And
me
you
add,
don't have a debate when you're in the DRC and one member doesn't show up, there's only one member there.
No.
so let me add to this discussion.
I don't know about that. Oh, you're back.
May I please add to this discussion?
Please.
There is a similar, the Arts Commission approves art. And there is a requirement for all commercial structures, new structures, to have 1% of the cost of their construction devoted to public art.
Right.
Or pay, or it doesn't have to be the art, they can pay,
And in lieu.
In
Or
lieu.
pay a fee.
But
So
their
it doesn't-
sign could be arty.
The sign that is a commercial sign could also still be art, as,
That's right.
as you said,
Yes.
Commissioner Sears. So
Right.
it could be possible to have the Planning Commission and the Arts Commission jointly review a creative sign, and that way, the six of you could not be pilloried if this went wrong.
We could still be pilloried.
You could
but
still be.
Maybe more lightly.
They do more of the creative and we do more, make sure that it fits the sizes and shapes and.
Well, and the 1% art doesn't necessarily just restrict to signs. So it can be a statue, a fountain, something artistic. Mm-hmm. In that
But
nature.
that already has a process for the art,
Yes, it does.
so.
But if it was a sign that was presented, then that sign could either jointly be reviewed by the Planning and Arts Commission or be reviewed by the Arts Commission and approved and recommended to the Planning
There you
Commission
go.
for approval,
Yeah,
And if the statue.
if that was to be the case.
If the statue was their logo, I'm thinking Bob's Big Boy, remember that?
Well,
I mean-
see, I don't know, I still have a little bit of issue with trying to create a giant loophole through the whole process. An example would be, I want a 100-foot freeway sign that's shaped like a truck. I'm doing a truck like Mavericks. And they go, hey, I want to do a creative sign that's going to be 100 foot tall, but it's going to be creative, it's going to be like a giant truck. I don't know. But, then that's more of
still
a,
have 450 square feet maximum.
well, I don't know, this doesn't say that. This pretty much gives you an open window.
Doesn't
does
say
it?
it has to conform to the other
No.
measurements.
It's not, that's why this whole thing, it
Then
doesn't
say-
have to conform.
Then say under creative signs, you must conform to the other sections of the.
That's what, there's no verbiage in there under this sign.
And we can add that verbiage, absolutely.
Yeah,
Then we can add that.
there you go.
That solves that
As long as
problem.
it,
I mean, if it conforms though, there's no reason to have,
that's my whole thing
to
too.
have it,
Then you go
so,
back if
Well,
it's.
but
Yeah.
it's back to the billboard with the thing sticking up above it.
yeah.
I'm just saying, well, that's creative, so
Creativity may
now,
require.
now I don't have to conform to everything else. See, that's my
Yeah.
whole thing about this, that's why I'm saying I'd like to just see this creative go away.
Out.
We can say we can encourage creative signs, as long as it conforms, but then we're just kind of wasting verbiage, because if it's gonna
Yeah.
conform, then there's no point
Yeah,
to it. And I just see this as a loophole for any business of trying to put up anything in the name of creativity, that
Yeah.
I can get, you can just make a flower shaped sign. But, it doesn't, in a residential neighborhood, this doesn't limit it. So I want to do, Randy's flower sales, and I want a 30-foot sign in a residential neighborhood, but it's in the name of creativity. It'll come before this board, and we're going to be like, no way. But it's kind of a loophole in the system, the way I'm reading it.
Then you're.
Or-
I don't
Then
see
you tell
that.
somebody you're pushing down their creativity.
Yeah, it's under the creativity name and not under the sign ordinance, where it wouldn't qualify, but now it does, under the creativity.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Yeah,
To
it looks
me,
a high
if you
degree of
If you put the language
originality.
in there that must conform to height and size requirements or whatever under creativity, then that solves the problem.
Right.
And make sure,
So we can
It's-
add that language in, if you choose to keep this section, we can add in the language that if it does not conform to the existing sign ordinance standards and is deemed to be
But which
creative.
one?
In
Which
that
one does
zone.
it have to
Well, it'd be
conform
All
to?
standards.
Yeah,
Yeah, but okay.
But because
so-
if we are asking for creativity and it's not specifying a zone or a district, then we can request that if it doesn't adhere to any of the existing sign code standards, it could be deemed a creative sign, therefore it would have to be applied for in that manner for the planning commission approval.
So if I still had my business down here and I wanted to start a snake sale business, right? And did a 85-foot snake with my name, Mike Snake Sales on it, that would be allowed?
If the
Subject.
planning commission
Not if
approved
it was,
it.
not if it wasn't approved.
but
I
see,
know, but it falls under.
But I do
the-
see
yeah,
what
but-
you mean.
But see, now, normally I'm gonna try to get around a variance by calling it a creative sign, and I'll just tweak it a little bit to be
Yeah,
creative.
yeah.
But we have a process, then you need to just apply for a variance, if you're gonna be for the planning commission
get
anyway.
away from.
Isn't the
we
idea
don't
to
need
try to
have
get
a
away
variance
from
to
the
do what we
variances?
want
Is this
to.
causing us
not
more trouble
necessary.
than it's
But
worth?
I see it
This
being a
section.
way around it, it's a loophole.
Huh?
I agree.
I think
We have-
this
if
section
we
is
have
causing
the
more trouble than it's
language-
worth.
If we have the language in here, in this, under creative sign, that requires that the sign conform to other, appropriate sections, and you can name the sections if you want, then your problem goes away. There's no variance, there's no, whatever.
But then what's
But I
the
like,
reason for it?
I don't want to discourage the idea of, McDonald's putting up a Donald Duck or something,
Bob's
or
Big Boy.
whatever. As long as it conforms to height and area of sign and so forth, then we have to decide, is that creative or is that a pain in the neck? That's the decision that's made here.
But this has never been in here before, and I don't
No,
think it's
this is
stopped.
completely new.
But I don't think it's stopped people from being creative before.
No, I don't think so either.
If
Why-
it landed under all the other regulations, it would have
Yeah.
been fine, so,
And
yeah.
if not, then they get a variant, then they come up here anyway, so.
Right.
I think this is
Why
just
have
to,
this?
this is just to
So-
encourage people to do it. But I think we're having a problem with the language.
Yeah.
And I would like to encourage people to do it. I think it's almost a tourist attraction in towns to do that type of thing.
Right.
But,
And again,
um,
that really was the intent.
Yeah.
So maybe we just add verbiage that as long as it conforms to,
And we can work on that verbiage.
yeah, if we could work on
If
that.
you're going to keep it, then I want the verbiage in there. If
And-
you're not going to keep it, then throw it out.
As I understand it, the only thing we've changed so far is to, the authority is the planning commission and not the
Right.
DRC.
Wes, I can see you have a comment.
Nope, I'm not going to comment.
I'd be happy to.
I
just-
encourage a comment in your vast experience.
Oh, I was just, if the debate was going to continue like it was, I was just going to suggest a straw vote to see, if the commission wanted it in or out.
Yeah.
Not a bad
I'm
idea.
kind of gauging where we're at there, and all we need is, we could do a straw vote, but,
Well, this is an early draft.
huh?
This is an early draft. They're gonna bring it back to us. If we don't like it then, when they bring it back, then we get rid of the whole verbiage.
It gives us time to think about it.
So, yeah, my only comments would be just to include the verbiage that as long as it conforms to all the other regulations, yeah, we'll encourage creativity, absolutely, 100%. We can, so it's just a disclaimer saying, let's encourage creativity, but it's gonna conform. Otherwise, if it doesn't conform, you're gonna, apply for a variance. I mean, I guess,
Yeah.
Well, the city already, if you build low income or something, we let you have less parking places or something like that, right? There's certain things that we do for other things. I mean, so to me, it almost seems like, okay, if we want these creative signs, maybe we'll give you a little bit more leeway somewhere.
Okay, that
But
makes sense.
make exceptions.
I mean,
There could be
yeah.
exceptions made subject to the planning commission's approval,
Yeah,
something like that.
that's to me the two things. It's got to be planning commission approval.
Yes.
And we got to make reference to the ordinances. Make sure that whoever wants to do this must comply to the other appropriate ordinances for size and height and
The other
square
regulations.
footage and whatever. As long as that's in there, then I'd like to keep it, because I like the idea of promoting creativity.
Yeah.
And if it's too outlandish and wild, then absolutely the planning commission can deny it. And
Yeah,
that sets the
absolutely.
point.
And then
So,
they can appeal it,
No
and
naked ladies.
it doesn't get built without
or
somebody.
they can go back to the drawing
don't
table and
know.
come back with something
I
better.
don't want to be chair here and go through what I went through as principal planner of the city of Sacramento.
Come on now.
I got shafted.
Sense of adventure.
Okay, so I think we have the consensus of the planning commission as to what we would like the amendments to be in this section. Are we ready to move on to non-conforming signs?
Yep.
We've exhausted creative signs. Okay.
And us.
For non-conforming signs, we've added a description to the allowances and requirements of conformance. Any existing sign that does not comply with the requirements of this section, but which was constructed, operated, and maintained in
Compliant.
Compliance.
Yes, thank you, compliance. With all regulations at the time of its placement shall be regarded as legal non-conforming sign and shall be allowed to remain in use except for as follows. If the electrical or structural elements associated with the non-conforming sign are reconfigured or replaced, immediate conformance with the requirements of this section shall be required. And then we added a section. if a non-conforming sign is removed during construction activities such as facade improvements, any non-conforming sign removed shall not be reinstalled.
Yeah, that, I have a problem with that personally.
Actually, if we can go back, because I remember discussing this at one time. We talked about bumping that 1 year period up for the term limit. Shall we just continue for a continuous period of more than 1 year on item 2? Paragraph 2 there.
Yep.
I think, like, under the circumstances now, like with the coronavirus and stuff, if a business, 12 months goes by quick.
And it's going to
Some
be a
business
lot,
may not even, some applica,
there's going to be a lot of upheaval.
So I almost like to see that bumped up to 2 years.
Yep.
Or something like that, amended time frame.
Okay.
Give a little bit more flexibility there.
In both places in section 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not really sure about the electrical either. I mean, there could, I don't know, somebody's updating for safety and then you make it so they can't have the sign anymore.
Yeah. You got to be really careful with restricting non-conforming signs. I mean,
The non-conforming clauses for a structure in our codes elsewhere say that you can replace a non-conforming structure like for like, but you cannot enlarge it, you cannot change it in any way. Otherwise, you do have to meet the zoning code, for instance, for setbacks and heights, et cetera.
if it's a building and it's burnt down 50% of its value, then you can't replace it.
Yeah,
That type of thing is something. But
Number
to say that they can't do a safety improvement for electrical, and they have to keep an unsafe non-conforming sign is what you're saying.
Right.
And if you say they have to keep an unsafe non-conforming sign in order to keep the sign, and the sign causes the building to burn down, I think the city's in trouble.
I think we can amend it to say if the electrical or structural elements associated with the non-conforming sign are reconfigured or replaced, the sign does not have to be replaced, or the sign, meeting conformance. And the sign is not being replaced, the non-conforming sign can remain in place.
As long as it's not being enlarged or changed in any way, it's just.
And the sign is not being altered in shape or
altered.
size.
Right, there
Okay.
you go.
You agree with that?
So basically, it's a safety or a maintenance
Yeah.
of the sign, not an enlargement or any other change.
Right, that's,
As long as it's not altered.
Size.
and same way with down on the new number 4.
3 and 4.
If a non-conforming sign is removed during construction, so basically discouraging construction activities such as a facade improvement. So if somebody wants to make their building more attractive to draw customers and things, they got to get rid of their non-conforming sign?
Or if
Should
they-
it be if the business remains the same? Or,
What if they just needed to move it to bring some equipment in to do something to the business and they were going to put it back?
I'd like the person to be able to keep their non-conforming sign for the business or for the building
Or if it's attached to the roof, and you get a new roof
and not discourage
back on.
the owner of making improvements that improve the historic area of Oroville.
That was a big
So
pole sign.
some type of language that does that is what I'm looking for.
okay.
I don't like 4.
Well, there's exceptions there too, because further reading the exceptions.
And 4 is an addition, so that also can be,
Basically, we're
Struck
you know-
out.
You know, during constructions, if they are doing improvements or facade So basically, once you take it off, I mean, maybe one of the poles is holding the sign up, it's attached to the roof, and you're getting a new roof.
That's what I was thinking.
So now you have to take it down, get a new roof, and you want to put it right back on. Well, you've pulled it off.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
What is the consensus of the planning commission for this item?
I wouldn't have it in, I'd take it out.
I'm fine with striking 4.
Okay.
Huh?
Strike 4?
Strike 4.
It's either change it or get rid of it.
Right, change it. I mean, get rid
Is
of
there
it.
any exceptions that, I haven't read the exceptions yet.
The only problem I had with the first exception is they can apply for a variance, which we're trying to get rid of variances.
I'm good with getting rid of 4, if you're doing a straw vote.
I mean, yeah, it is prohibitive for, like, I mean, if you look at that, yeah, like the union,
That's what
if
I
they
was
had to,
thinking.
you know, they were doing a facade on the union, technically, if there was a sign they were gonna keep, they changed it completely, don't get me wrong, but technically, if there was a non-conforming sign there, they were doing the facade, they couldn't put it back the way this is written, no matter what.
That's right.
They would
Without
have
a
to
variance.
create a new conforming sign to
Yeah.
replace it.
Yeah.
Correct.
So do you want to get rid of 4?
Yeah, I'm good with getting rid of 4.
I am.
Everybody wants to get rid of it, raise their hand.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. We got rid of it.
Sounds
That's
good.
called a straw vote, I guess.
Nice and easy.
Okay. Are we good there with non-conforming signs?
For A, do we go through B?
I'm moving on to B.
Okay.
So with B, what we've amended or changed is, let me see, I'll read this whole paragraph. If the planning commission finds, based on substantial evidence, that the provisions of this section would significantly affect the economic ability of a business to continue because of the impossibility of locating a new sign in a location where it would be substantially obstructed or able to
not
serve
be.
its purpose as a sign, the commission may grant a variance allowing the nonconforming sign to be retained or modified, or a new nonconforming sign to be erected.
Why a variance? Why not just have the planning commission approve it? The standards for variance are very strict. They're controlled by the state. So why even have a variance? Just say the commission may grant a nonconforming sign to be retained or modified, or a new nonconforming sign to be erected.
That would be fine.
Yeah, they don't
That's-
need a variance.
That's fine.
That's my 2 cents. Straw vote, anybody?
Yeah, I like to get rid of the word variance too. That's my
May
biggest problem with
grant
that.
A non-conforming.
The whole reason we're doing the sign ordinance is that if we never see a variance again,
That's the
I'd be very
idea.
happy.
May
Should be
grant
black
a
and
non,
white,
so
make it
so it
easy.
says may grant a non-conforming sign to be retained or modified.
Variances are
Why don't
very
we say
political.
allow
I don't
instead of
like
grant?
bringing politics into the
No,
planning
so we don't
commission.
want to allow the variance. We want to know what it is before we agree to it.
No,
If
we're
that was
taking
the-
out variance instead of the word grant.
So it now
allow.
says the commission may allow a nonconforming sign to be retained or modified, or a new nonconforming sign to be erected.
Yes.
Okay.
then maybe include in somewhere in here on their exceptions, that it would have to go to the Historical Advisory Commission if it's in the historic overlay.
Yeah.
Because this commission used to be not the historic, we used to have a separate Historical Advisory Commission. That may happen someday.
We just switch hats up here.
Yeah, but it would be nice to see that commission reinstated someday.
In case we ever, yeah.
Is it my imagination, or are we almost through this?
We are almost through it.
It is.
Okay, last page. We have no items. That's it. We're done.
Removal of. So now we get to go home and read it again.
So we will make the amendments based on this evening's conversation, and then we will bring it back to the commission for a final draft review. And then we will go from there. If there are any edits, then we will bring it back for a final draft approval at the following commission meeting. So August, September would be the final approval. Okay, does
Good
that
job.
work?
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, guys.
It's a
And
lot
I
of work.
promise to go through it and really proofread it.
Hearing no complaints, the meeting is adjourned.
Oh, okay.
Aren't there a couple of things that the director would like to do? Well, I'd like to hear about anyway.
Yes. I'm sure Don and I both have short reports.
Yep.
First, the DRC met on July 9th to discuss a proposed AT&T cell tower. There are a couple of issues still to resolve, so the Planning Commission will hear that use permit on August 29th at the next meeting. The next DRC meeting has been scheduled. It will be Thursday, August 13th at 1:30 p.m.
And you got two new,
And Commissioners Sears and Flicker will be the
Sure.
attendees.
sure, yes.
The projects to review there so far are a large 2,100 square foot garage proposed on a residential lot at 49 Oak Avenue, which requires development review if it's over 700 square feet.
2,000 square feet? I can see that getting converted into a dwelling.
Business.
Another
business.
project is a use permit for a single SRO, single residential occupancy facility at the Western Motor Lodge on Bird Street. This facility has been operating not as a motel, which was originally designed for, but as a single-room occupancy establishment for many years. They have recently filed a use permit application to continue operating, and because there have been quite a number of compliance issues and such, we will be involving David Goyer, our code compliance officer, in this process to review and visit the site and make recommendations on that. We might also invite the two planning commissioners to go along on that. We anticipate finally issuing the negative declaration on the Ruddy Creek subdivision and annexation next week. It's just about ready to be published for 30-day public review. We are confident that this project will come before you at the August meeting. After that, it would go to the City Council. Staff is working on a general plan amendment to catch some pending parcel rezones and safety element updates. I've mentioned this before. Those changes affecting the zoning code will be heard by this commission. If you haven't noticed, the new Starbucks is under construction. The new shell is up. Commissioner Chapman asked about the Planning Commission's direction to work with the applicant on a relief measure or on figuring something out in case the drive-through got overcrowded. We did meet with the applicant's engineer, and the city engineer shortly after that. And our city engineer is confident that lower Wyandotte on the right side there, after the new curb and gutter are completed, will be wide enough to stripe a deceleration or a turn lane there. A right turn lane into that heading north, yeah.
I also think that the full effect of the traffic for the school may not be noticed this school year, but may become a problem in the future when and if we ever get back to what's called normal.
The school is putting a gate in at Mesa and Lower Wyandotte in order to discourage through traffic. So they worked with our city engineer on that.
Will you still be able to, trying to picture I haven't seen a site plan or anything, but, what's the tire shop right there?
Big O.
Right now you can exit Big O back behind.
Yeah.
Is that gonna stay the same, or does this get,
That driveway behind there is on Big O's lot.
Yes.
And so for the moment, it will stay the same. If there is a change there, we'd have to start working with that owner.
somebody told me there was a reciprocal access agreement between the two, between the old restaurant or hamburger
It's like an
place,
easement where they can go,
right,
yeah.
and Big O. So that people could get to Big O without having to go down the signal light, make a right turn and go up. They could make a right there.
The site plan is going to eliminate that option because the drive-through is looping right through there.
And that's, you gotta be careful. You need to find out if there was a reciprocal agreement, because you'd be violating the reciprocal agreement with Big O. Huh?
I said it might be kind of a little too late on this.
My only comment was car stacking in the drive-through.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see car stacking into impeding into lower, anything, you can't mitigate it all. You have a drive-through, it's always a possibility. But the most that could be mitigated, we just don't want another Starbucks in Oro Dam, is my comment, there. And, there's, where the Panda is, there's plenty of room for car stacking, but since the entrance was so close to Oro Dam, learning from that, I would have had more concerns about that drive-through at Starbucks, and car stacking. And there was KFC has been problematic a little bit, mainly for the tenant in there with blockage, right? But we got to really look, if in future planning commission, drive-through applications, I think, car stacking's just got to be a heavy consideration.
Speaking of the KFC, we did contact the owner and the operator of the KFC, and they actually responded that day. And their proposal at this point is to stripe the left side of that driveway right up against their parking spots and mark that as an extension of the drive-through so that cars can go
Curves
back
around.
and forth. Yeah. It'd be a hard left into the existing drive-through. We are waiting for a drawing so that we can evaluate it and look at it.
Instead of saying on lane, they're gonna be on the left-hand side of the lane.
Yeah, the sign will mark drive-through right there against the left edge.
Leaving, they're gonna have to
If they do, how do you get in, what if somebody that wants to just get in, to go to your,
we have to go.
right?
Driveway, they would be, my understanding is, going over to this side, the left-hand side of the, one goes in, one goes out, so now they're on the wrong side, they're going upstream when everybody else is trying to get out. But it would leave that at least one lane open, I guess.
But is that one lane area wide enough for two vehicles? Because you're gonna have a vehicle coming in
Yes.
and a vehicle going out,
Yeah, there's two right now,
huh?
Yeah,
It's
there
wide
is.
enough now for two vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is it wide enough for three?
No,
You're talking about having a third.
We're going to evaluate it once they propose that striping. They'd actually been thinking about it for a while themselves, and so we'll look at it and review it prior and see what we think on that. And again, it's a first attempt, inexpensive attempt to do something, and it will add, I believe, 5 cars to the drive-through to stack. So hopefully it'll alleviate most of the problems.
at least they called back.
And then lastly, the Ron Harmon mine, the city's only mine, a dirt mine, gravel mine, is seeking a 5-year extension until November 2026. 5 years from its current November 2021 expiration, and this may come before you in August as well.
Ophir and Pacific Heights?
Pacific Heights, yeah.
Ophir and, yeah, where
And-
Ophir Road,
And
Where you
Bagot
go in
Marysville
Bagot Marysville.
is the
Thank you.
entrance, yeah.
Right there at the intersection of Ophir and Pacific Heights, that whole area back there is,
As you
Is the
climb the hill
mining
at
area.
Ophir, and it's to the left.
It's right on the top.
Fill dirt
There's nothing on the
primarily.
property right
Yeah.
now.
does that come to the planning commission?
The extension will, yes.
I was thinking of a mine, like going into a mountain
Yeah.
mine.
Surface mine.
That's what I got
Yeah.
confused at. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah. I just had two quick items regarding the correspondence for the downtown historic Bird and Downer Street signs. So Connor's done some research and we found somebody who could restore both of those signs for approximately $900. It's an estimate. At this point, they have been removed to deter any further damage or deterioration. And we've also looked into replacing them with replicas so that the originals could be restored and displayed possibly in the city council chambers. And that would also prevent theft in the future after spending money on restoring them. So that was one item.
Replication cost.
Connor and I are still looking into costs, but we have found companies that do replicate them, and we were also going to discuss with our current Public Works sign shop to see if they could produce the replications themselves. And lastly, I just wanted to thank the Planning Commission for going through this sign code workshop with me and the planning staff. I know this has been a long time coming. I feel like we've made huge headway in the 2 workshops that we had, and I just want to thank you again for your patience through this process. It's been a good I know, Tammy, you're new to this process. Commissioner Sears, you're relatively newer back to this process, and so thank you for participating, and it's been a good
Well, I
workshop.
think the staff has just done marvelous job.
I agree.
Just absolutely great, and it's nice to have the 5-year ago
Yes,
information
yes,
as part of
to
this.
see it come to fruition.
Yes.
Yeah. So this has been wonderful. I just wanted to give everybody a big thank you for your patience with this. That's all I had.
Is that it?
Very minor.
I have a question. Now that, if Butte County continues to stay on this list from the state, are we going to have to go back to Zoom meetings, or are we going to be allowed? Is any, I
If
don't
we
know what the
continue to
rules-
stay on this list, so they haven't tightened up their belts as much as they did previously, back to stage 1. We have discussed with administration possibly going back to Zoom meetings. We aren't there yet. I think where we are with our capacity now, we will be okay. We would continue to leave the public out. So we're still at 10 currently. But I don't think so at this point, going back to Zoom meetings. We'll see what happens when we get there.
You'll let us know.
We'll let you know, absolutely.
Yeah, if we get our full couple more commission, are we like short 2 or 3? 2?
Well, we're still haven't reappointed.
So we're still short
Damon's
2.
empty seat, and then,
At Healy's, that's 3 now.
yeah.
But if they were to come in, then we would be
Yeah.
probably over our 10.
I said I'll seat until somebody replaces me. So,
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Britton, I believe your term is up as well. Re-upped? Oh, I didn't realize that. Wonderful. Thank you. Jackie,
Yeah, I already did that. Just
Okay.
a quick note, and send it, yeah.
great.
No,
Okay, I officially now end this meeting.
Okay.